Okay, hello everybody. Can anyone see me? If you can see me, say hello. We'll wait a few more minutes, although we're a little bit behind. I'm so sorry. We'll wait 15 seconds. And thank you guys so much for joining me this evening, kind of on another late notice. It's been a crazy week, but I'm glad you guys are here. All right, we're going to start in a second. We'll start in 5 seconds. Okay, let's get started. So, my name is Seiko Matsumura, for those that don't know me. For those who have been playing in tournament golf, have you ever had a penalty stroke or assessed a penalty or two, but didn't know the reason why? Or are you nervous in playing in tournament golf because you don't know all the rules? Well, today we're going to talk about the top terms and rules you need to know before you play tournament golf. First of all, it is so important to know the rules because if you don't know the rules, you can't win and at anything. And also you can get taken advantage of. So as long as you know some of the rules or know where to look them up, I think that would be so helpful. Unfortunately, if you watched the rules video from last time, Coach Aki said that the United States Golf Association is no longer selling the rules of golf anymore. They used to at pro shops and stuff like that, but now I think they're just trying to save trees, so you can look up any rules on your phone, and I think you're able to do that in tournaments. Otherwise, I don't know what else you can do. You can also ask the rules committee or your golf coach that is hosting the event or any of the rules officials at the tournament you're playing. So like I said, as long as you know where to look up the rules, I think that's going to be important because sometimes you can't know all of them, even professionals don't. But if you know the top ones, that's good. And then if you don't know, just use your phone as a reference. The best website is usga.org. Okay, so let's get started. I have a lot of terms and rules to go over. So we will, I'll go over them with you, and then at the end we'll do a little rules quiz. And then we'll talk about the little quiz after I go over them, and then yeah, so let's get started. So the first one I want to talk about is your tee time. Getting to your tee time is very important. For example, if your tee time is at 9 a.m., you still have the opportunity to get there at 9:05 ready to play, but with the 2-stroke penalty, but if you do not get to your tee time within 5 minutes, you will unfortunately get disqualified. So please make sure that you're always early to your time. That's why we always ask you guys to come at least 30 minutes before your tee time so you can use the restroom, warm up, talk to your friends, get a snack. Yeah, so 30 minutes to 45 minutes is really good to come before your tournament time. And then, like I said, as long as you get to your tee time within 5 minutes, you will still be able to play, but with the 2-stroke penalty. And then if you come after that, unfortunately, you will not be able to play in the tournament. So that's important. That is the rule for tee times. So there's two kinds of, well, in general, there's two kinds of ways to play golf. One is called stroke play. That's what you guys do in our training matches or when you guys are playing in high school golf. Stroke play is just you and the golf course and then your best score. Yeah, so that's the best way to define stroke play. You and the golf course, and whoever has the best score wins in your field. Match play is a different kind of way to play golf. It is fun. Sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, but match play is where you get paired up against somebody else. So for example, if Adriana and Micah are playing on the golf course, if Micah gets a 4 on a hole and Adriana gets a 5, Micah is 1 up. So he beat Adriana by 1. So it's you against another player. Okay. Stroke play is I don't want to get you guys confused. So that's match play, and I think we've played that before in our rounds. The next one is important: measuring devices. Make sure the tournament that you're playing in allows you to use like GPS measuring devices, or even a golf buddy that tells you how far you are. Because if you aren't sure, you want to ask the committee or your coach before you go play. I'm not exactly sure in high school golf if you're allowed to, but I know local events around here allows you to, and obviously we do. But make sure you are able to use measuring devices. Otherwise, you can receive a 2-stroke penalty. I have a story. There was, a gentleman playing in a professional event, and for some reason they didn't allow measuring devices, and he started off playing really well, birding everything, just playing really well, and then just instinctively grabbed his GPS device and started measuring how far he was. And then the tournament committee came over and was like, oh, you just got issued a 2-stroke penalty because there are no GPS devices allowed at the tournament. But even though he got a 2-stroke penalty, he still was able to win the tournament. So just make sure you know if you can use a measuring device. And those are like your golf buddies that you can put on your hats that tell you how far you are from the hole, or the ones that you just touch and tells you how far you are. Okay? So make sure you ask before you play in a tournament. Not sure if you guys know this, but you're only allowed 14 clubs in your golf bag. You can have like alignment sticks, but just be careful. Take those out just in case someone tries to say that's a club or something. I don't know. People, you just don't know. So just make sure you take out anything other than clubs in your golf bag, because you can have only 14. I remember a touring professional was on the golf course. He told his caddy, hey, take out my extra whatever. I think it was a driver or something. And so the professional told his caddy, take it out before the first hole, or I think as he was walking to the first hole, something like that. And the caddy forgot. He didn't realize he had the club until he already teed off. So that's a 2-stroke penalty. And needless to say, that caddy got fired, I think, at the tournament. So yes, just make sure that you only have 14 clubs in your bag. And let's say you forgot that you had an extra club in your bag on the second hole. I think you have to count a 2-stroke penalty on each hole you played with an extra club, but only up to, you can only get a penalty, 4-stroke penalty. So you could, so that's max. So that's good, but just so you don't get any penalty strokes, take out any extra clubs and always count your clubs before and after your round, so you don't lose any clubs either. 14 clubs, please. Okay, advice. Please do not give advice to any of your playing partners in tournament golf. I think high school is different, so just ask your coach about that. But please don't ask advice or take any advice. So if you give, it's 2-stroke penalty. If you take, it's 2-stroke penalty, even though you didn't ask for it. So examples of advice is what club to use, how to swing, anything that will help the player on the golf course. However, you can tell playing partners how far the hole is. So if, for example, if Coach Aki and I are playing on the golf course, we're about the same distance from the hole, then Aki can ask me, oh, Seiko, how far were you? And we can also help each other with, if someone doesn't know the golf course, you can give them advice on where water is, or how far a certain tree is. But yeah, just make sure you do not tell them what club to use or anything that will help them make a better shot or score on a hole. Okay, advice. Pace of play is very important. First, because if it's too slow on the golf course, it's not fun. But second, if you play slow, you will get penalized. When you're on the golf course, you only have 40 seconds to hit your shot. So when it's your turn, that's when the clock starts. That's why it's good to know as you're walking towards the hole, or sorry, towards your shot, start thinking about your hole, how to plan for it. Because if you're over your shot and it's your turn for too long, you can get, assessed a 2-stroke penalty. And let's say your group is slow, or maybe one of the players in your group is slow. A rules official can come over and start timing you guys, and they'll give you a warning first, then they'll probably, excuse me, my nose is running. They'll warn you first, and then if you start playing faster, then it'll be okay. But the second time, if you're slow, then they'll time each player in the group. And then if that's going well, then they'll let you go. But then if the third time, there could be a chance where you get disqualified. So, disqualified. But before disqualification, you could get assessed a 2-stroke penalty. I think I said that, but just want to make sure. Pace of play. It's more fun when you're playing fast anyway. And then, like I said, try and plan as you're walking. The tee box is very important. A couple things about the tee box. First of all, please make sure you play from the same tee boxes that you started with and that the tournament told you to play from. I played in a tournament one time, and I think, well, I don't even know what hole it was. Maybe it was like even the 7th or 8th hole. I think we were just trying to play fast, and we accidentally, my whole entire group played from the wrong tee box. I think we played further away. So that penalty is a 2-stroke penalty, and yes. And then another thing about the tee box, if just say, for example, you're playing from 100 yards, but you like 102 yards, you can actually move your ball back up to 2 club lengths, but no more than that. So you can use your driver and take as far back as you want, but up to 2 club lengths only. Obviously, you can't play. Oh yeah, also from the tee box, from the 2 markers, you can't play in front of them or on the sides of them. Yeah, just make sure you're, or else you get a 2-stroke penalty. So make sure that you are on the line of the markers and no more than 2 club lengths behind. And then just make sure you play from the same markers each time. Okay? Okay, let me talk to you about what a provisional ball is, because I think that's important. A provisional ball is used when you think your ball is lost, and if you think your ball is out of bounds. And one of the reasons why you would use a provisional ball is so you don't have to go try and find your ball and then walk all the way back to the tee box. So it's good to have this rule because, yeah, it saves you time and energy. To hit a provisional ball, you must tell your playing partners that you are hitting a provisional ball, and that you tell them exactly what ball you're hitting. So for example, I like using Titleist 3, so I'll say, Aki, I'm playing a Titleist 3 and I'm hitting a provisional ball. You must use those words, otherwise that ball now, the one that you're about to tee off with, that becomes your absolute ball. Rather than if you thought that first ball was lost but it wasn't, yeah, you can't play that ball. You'd have to use the one that you are using as a provisional ball but forgot to say I'm hitting a provisional ball. So just make sure if your ball is lost, could be lost or out of bounds, you're going to tell your playing partners, I think my ball is lost or is out of bounds. I'm hitting a provisional ball and it's a Titleist 3. Yeah, Titleist 3. And if your ball does happen to go out of bounds or lost, then you can use that ball. Okay, and it'll be your third shot. We'll talk more about that in the next couple rules. Hope that made sense. Okay, now let's talk about out of bounds. So the out of bounds boundaries are made up from white stakes. Stakes are basically sticks. So they're colored in white, sometimes with a black top, but lately I've been seeing white sticks. It is a 1-stroke penalty if your ball goes in there. Now, here's a couple things. First, if you know for sure your ball is out of bounds, like your ball crossed into the past the sticks into the out of bounds area, boundary outside the golf course, you need to re-hit from where you last hit and add 1 stroke. So, for example, I tee off. I go into out of bounds on the left. I know for sure it's in there. I'm going to re-hit, and that'll be my third shot. Now, here's a couple things. If your ball is half in bounds, and half of it's out of bounds, your ball is actually in bounds. So if any part of the ball is on the golf course, play it without a penalty. Okay? But if your ball is on the line of, because sometimes there's a line that they create with spray paint, the rules committee or the golf course does. If your ball's on the line of the out of bounds, it is considered out of bounds. So you have to re-hit. But if part of it's out, if part of it's on the golf course, the actual golf course, and it's not all of it's in, then you just got to re-hit. I'm sorry, you play that shot. Sorry. One more time. If half of your ball is in bounds, as in on the golf course, and half of it's out of bounds, you could play it from there. Okay, no penalty. Has anyone ever had to take an unplayable lie? Rule. Okay, so we'll apply this rule. Okay, So an unplayable lie is basically anywhere on the golf course, except a penalty area, which is like a lake or a stream or anything where there used to be water. So for example, let's say a bush in the middle of the fairway. You can't hit out of it. There's 3 options with 1 penalty. You can always go back to where you last hit. So if you teed off and your ball went in the bush, you could re-hit, because if you don't want to hit from there or can't hit from there. You can take 2 club lengths from the bush, no closer to the hole, nearest point of relief. Or you can draw a line from where your ball last crossed into the bush to the flag and go as far back as you want. And yeah, so hopefully you don't have to take an unplayable lie, but I've taken many. And just remember, it is a 1-stroke penalty, but there is 3 options. Penalty areas, this is where I get kind of confused. I've been playing golf for almost 30 years and I still forget the options. And they just recently changed it too. So I'm going to refer to the book for this. So penalty areas are defined by red sticks and yellow sticks. Okay, so let me refer to the book on this. And it is a 1 penalty stroke if you don't play from the penalty area. Okay, so let me refer to the book. The yellow stakes, if your ball goes into the yellow stake, you can always play from where you last hit, as long as you know the ball went in to that yellow area. So you can always re-hit. You can draw a line from where your ball last crossed the hazard to the flag and go as far back as you want. Or you could play from the penalty area without a penalty stroke, actually. So for the yellow, if you go in and you know for sure, you can re-hit from where you last hit, or draw a line from where your ball last crossed the hazard to the flag and go as far back as you want. Let me see if I could draw a diagram for you guys on that. So, oh God, I'm nervous. So here's my tee box. Can you even see? Sorry, I have to move this one thing right here so I can even see what I'm doing. Oh Lord, you can't even see it. Well, this is the tee box. Oh, sorry about my writing. Here's the green. Here's the flag. Okay, good, you can see that. Here's the lake and the yellow stakes. I'm sorry, I don't know why I put the tee box, but let's say I hit from the tee box, I went here, and from my second shot, I went into the water here. So I could draw a line from where my ball last crossed the hazard to the flag and go as far back as I want to. Let's say this is only 50 yards, but I don't like that yardage. I can move back to 60 or 70 yards. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And I hope my picture was okay and made sense. Now, for a red penalty area, you can do all the same things. You can re-hit from the tee box. You can hit from the lake. I'm going to move this real quick, sorry. And then you can hit from the penalty area. You can draw a line from where your ball last crossed the hazard and go as far back as you want. But you can also, this time, if let's say this side's red stakes, you can do, and your ball went here, you can do 2 club lengths, no closer to the hole. Or sorry, where your ball last crossed. So if I hit from here into the water, no, you can go on this side, sorry. You can take 2 club lengths, nearest point of relief from here. If I hit right here, my ball lands right here, I can take 2 club lengths this way. Nearest point of relief to the green. Or nearest point of relief from the penalty area. So once again, if your ball goes into the red penalty area, you could re-hit with 1 penalty stroke, take 2 club lengths from your nearest point of relief where the ball went in, where your ball is, with 1 penalty stroke. You can draw a line from where your ball last crossed that hazard and go as far back as you want if you don't like a certain distance with 1 penalty stroke, or you can hit from the water with no penalty stroke. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And this is, that's when it's good to have your rules on your phone or refer to usga.org. Okay. Now on to bunkers. Some of these things you might know, but just a reminder. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. You can move loose impediments. Loose impediments means leaves, rocks, pebbles, and you can remove those in the bunker if they're in your way or if you just want to take them out without a penalty stroke. You can't touch sand in front of your ball or behind it. So you have to still, if this is your ball, you have to, and this is your club, you have to hover over the sand and the ball. I guess if you accidentally touch your club with the sand, as long as you're not addressing the ball, you can accidentally touch the sand as long as you aren't testing the conditions without a penalty. And there are now unplayable options in the bunker. So if you have a really hard lie and you don't want to hit from there, then you have a couple options. I think you have up to 4 now. This thing is confusing me. Sorry, I gotta move this thing. So the first one, you can do 2 club lengths no closer to the hole, but you have to keep it in the bunker, nearest point of relief. Stay within the line you came on and go as far back as you want, kind of like a penalty area. Draw a line from where your ball last crossed to the hole and go as far back as you want in the bunker. You can go back from where you last hit or take it out and go as far back as you want on the line you came in into the flag, but that's a 2-stroke penalty. The 4th option is a 2-stroke penalty. If you want to take it out of the bunker and go as far back as you want on the line. Let me check number 3 real quick, bunkers, because I want to make sure I give you the right, these are new rules, so I'm a little bit confused. 165. I think it'd be great to give you guys rules books, but I guess they don't want that. 1-stroke penalty, a player may take a stroke in distance so they can play, yeah, so I guess you can go back and re-hit with a 1-stroke penalty. Re-hit from where you last hit. So, remember there's 4 options. 3 is just a 1-stroke penalty, and then the other one is a 2-stroke penalty if you want to take it out and go back as far as you want to while keeping where your ball went in from into the line of the target and go as far back as you want. Okay? And then the other thing with bunkers, you can take out leaves, rocks, and pebbles. and then can't touch the sand in front of the ball or behind it, but you can accidentally touch the sand if you're walking in, or if you slip as you're coming down and your club touches the sand, that's no penalty. But don't take any practice swings in there and take them outside, or take a practice swing there without touching the sand, okay? Now, I don't see a lot of these, but this is important because you need to know this. Ground under repair are areas that are getting maintenance, or maybe an area where it's kind of watery and where the maintenance needs to come and fix it, but they don't have time. These are defined by like basically a white line, and it's usually a sometimes it could be stakes, I guess, like sticks, but usually it's spray painted. Okay. There's no penalty if your ball goes into this area. You're going to find your nearest point of relief here. You'll put a tee, put a club down, because you get one club length of relief, and then so you'll put another tee and then drop it from knee height. Pick up your ball and then drop it from knee height. So make sure you just never touch your ball unless you have your set up down where you're going to drop your ball, because you're not supposed to touch your ball unless you can. So make sure you have your setup down first before you pick up your ball, okay? But no penalty here, and it's usually defined by white lines and spray paint. Sometimes it's in a good lie. Sometimes you can be in a good lie and it's marked, but and if there's nothing outside that's pretty good, sometimes I have played in ground under repair, and you just play it from like as if it's in the fairway, so you don't have to hover over it or anything. So just make sure, you can move your ball if you want to from there. If your ball is on a sprinkler, there is no penalty. It's kind of similar to ground under repair. You find your nearest point of relief, put your tee down in that area. It's a 1 club length relief. Put another tee down, pick up your ball knee height. Okay, so no penalty there if your ball lands on a sprinkler. Putting green. A couple things here. Does anyone know what a double hit is? A double hit is basically you just hit your putter twice if you're on the putting green. So that does not count as as 2 hits. It's just 1 hit. If your ball moves by accidentally taking a practice stroke, just make sure you put it back on the putting green, and that's no penalty, but just make sure you put it back. A couple other tidbits. If your ball is partially in the hole, it is in, so just want to make sure you know that. That could be from off the green or from on the green. If part of it's in under the hole, that means it's in the hole. Also, have you ever had a putt where it's right on the lip of the hole, but it's just sitting there? You actually have 10 seconds for it to go in. Otherwise, it counts as the next shot. Does that make sense? So let's say I'm putting for 3. If it's right on the lip of the hole, I can wait 10 seconds. And if it goes into 3, but if it doesn't, obviously you hit it in for a 4. Okay? So some cool things about the putting green. Hopefully you guys are learning some new things or keeping the rules refresh in your mind. because you never know when it can happen. Okay, let's talk about scoring because this is important. I've had a couple rules. Luckily, yes, I was part of it actually. So basically, I didn't really get in trouble for it, but I felt really bad. Always go over each hole with your playing partner, just like we do in like training matches. Whether you're saying your own score or the other person saying your score, it's best the other person says it usually. But make sure you go over it with your playing partner. Then you could use the scores that you wrote down for yourself plus the scorecard from the other person that marked your score. Go over it again and then sign it, because we've had a couple, I've been in a couple rules infractions and I'll get there in a second, but just a couple reminders. If you sign a score that is higher than you actually hit on that score, on that hole, and you sign for it and you turn it in to your coach, or let's say it was a bigger, basically, yeah, you sign for a higher score and you turn it in and then they put up your score, that score has to stay. So that's why it's important to go hole by hole. Also, if you sign a scorecard and, sorry, my nose, so itchy. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Like I said, my allergies. If you sign with a lower score and you turn it in, you actually get disqualified. So there's been times when like I spend like 5 minutes double checking my scores because I want to make sure my scores are correct and I don't get disqualified, especially if I'm on the leaderboard. So one time I accidentally put a higher score for someone. We both signed it. I thought she looked at all her scores hole by hole. I guess she missed one. She signed it and she turned it in. It was actually a partner event. My girlfriend and I wanted to win so bad, but then they won because of the score. However, they lost because they signed for a, was it for a higher or maybe for a lower score? I think they signed for a lower score and then we ended up winning, but that's not how you want to win. And you just feel so guilty and so bad. So make sure, yeah, like I said, go over hole by hole. I think I also did that to somebody else too, where remember, it's not just your responsibility, but everyone's responsibility in the group. I think one girl that I was scoring for, she signed for a higher score, and I think she was in the lead, but then she had to come in second because she had to take the higher score. So see how important it is to make sure you have the right score down and to know how to count your score, because it could be that you come in second, even though you should have got first, or you get disqualified from the entire event because you wrote the lower score down. Okay, that's all I have for my rules. That's what I thought was important. So now I want to just do a little fun quiz. So if you guys want, you can just go over in your head, but I think it'd be nice to see how well you remember your the rules that we went over. So if you want to grab a piece of paper, write a number down for each answer. Obviously, write down your answers and then give them to me. I'll look them over, and if you get all of them right, I'll give you 25 skills chips. Okay, so I'll give you, 30 seconds to do that. Hopefully you wrote some notes down. Was there anybody that, well, first of all, are there any questions before we go over the rules so then you get them all right? Anybody that's on here want to ask any rules questions? I'm not the best at the rules, but I have my handy dandy rules book in front of me. And remember, we can always refer back to usga.org. Okay, are you guys ready to take your rules test, rules quiz? Okay, so for number 1, I gotta write these down too. How many minutes do you have after your actual starting time to still be able to play even with the 2-stroke penalty? Write it down if you know the answer. Number 2, what happens if you come after 5 minutes? What happens to you? I'll give you a hint. You don't get to get Dairy Queen. That was lame, but that's what I always tell my kids. It's not Dairy Queen. Okay. Hopefully you got that. Those 2 answers right, I gave you a big hint. Let's see, the next one. Number 3, what is the penalty stroke if you use a measuring device, whether it's a golf buddy that tells you the score or a measuring GPS tool, if you're not allowed to use it at the tournament, at a tournament? What is the penalty stroke? Write that down. How many penalty strokes do you get if you're using a measuring device that's not allowed? So in order for you not to get that the penalty, what can you do? You can go ask your coach before you play in the event if measuring tools or measuring devices are allowed. Ask your coach, ask the person running the event, the rules committee, email them, call them. There's always a way to find out. Okie dokie. How many clubs can you have in your bag? How many clubs can you have in your bag? Remember, you do not want to have more than a certain number. And if you do, and you realize that on the first hole, how many penalty strokes you get, that's question number 5 and answer number 5. What is the penalty if you have more than 14 clubs in your bag? This is so good to know so you don't get penalized. Golf's already hard enough. You don't want extra strokes out there. Number 6, what is the penalty if someone gives you advice or you give advice, or if you take advice? Do not give advice other than the yardage that you're at. You can give that, or you can tell them how the course or how the hole is played and laid out, but you can't tell them anything that's going to help them shoot a lower score. For example, a certain club to use, or how to swing, or how to hit a certain shot. What is the penalty that if someone gives you advice or you give them advice. That's number 6. Number 7, how many seconds do you get when it's your turn to hit? How many seconds do you get when it's your time to hit? Pace of play is important, otherwise you can get penalized. You might be able to get disqualified, and we don't want that. So make sure you know how many seconds you have when it's your turn to hit. If I'm going too fast, tell me to wait. Okay. Tee box, make sure you hit from the tee box you are supposed to be hitting from. If you don't hit from the tee box you're supposed to hit from, what is the penalty? And if you hit in front of the tee boxes or hit more than 2 club lengths behind, what is the penalty? So that's for answer 8 and 9. If you hit from the wrong tee box, that's a certain penalty. And if you hit in front of the markers or too far behind it, more than 2 club lengths, what's the penalty? Hint is the same answer. Okay. Provisional ball. Do we need a question for that? Just remember, you can only use a provisional ball if you know your ball is lost or out of bounds. So no question there. What color, number 9, question number 9. I'm sorry, question number 10. What color is out of bounds? OB is not, someone asked me, one of my students before asked me, what does OB stand for? Overactive bladder? No. Out of bounds. Out of bounds. And what color is it? Because I just gave you the answer of what the penalty stroke is. Oh, and I gave you, okay, never mind. But you can still write it down. I'm silly. Ooh. Do you guys remember the penalty for unplayable lie? That's when there's a shot where you don't think you can hit out of and you can take it out with the penalty. What's the penalty? And what are the 3 options? Write them out. Option 1, 2, and 3. There's 3 options. Let's see if you can remember them. And you know what you can do? You can even look them up on the rules of golf. Yeah, you guys can do that. Sorry, I just realized that. Look them up. Do you guys remember what a loose impediment is? Give me an example of a loose impediment. Write it down. Write that down and tell me what the penalty stroke is if you're, for number 13, answer 13, question number 13. What's the penalty if your club touches the sand in front of the ball or behind it or during practice swing? Write that down. Penalty if your club touches the sand in front of the ball or behind it or when you're taking a practice swing. You can touch it. You can't touch the sand anywhere else in the bunker as long as you're not using I mean, testing the conditions without a penalty, I guess. And what are the 3 options of an unplayable lie in the bunker? Similar to the unplayable lie, the regular unplayable lie. So 3 options for, or I'm sorry, 4 options for unplayable in bunker. Write them out. Remember, you can look them up. Okay, whoops, I think I gave the answer. But what color, number 15, the question is, what color is the ground under repair? And what is the relief? Write that out. What is the relief? And what color is ground under repair? Hopefully you heard that. A couple more and then I'll let you guys go. Doing pretty good on time. Ball on sprinkler, number 16. Question and answer, number 16. If your ball's on a sprinkler, what is the penalty? No penalty, but what is the relief? Remember, you can look it up on usga.org. Number 17. Some fun facts. How many seconds do you have for your ball to go in the hole from the lip? Sorry if you can hear my dog. How many seconds do you have for the ball to go over that lip into the hole? And should I ask another one? For scoring. What is the penalty if you sign for a lower score? What is number 18's question and answer? What is the penalty for a lower score? Make sure you have all your answers written down. Hopefully you guys participated in that. Did any other questions come up, or do you have anything that I didn't go over, any questions that I didn't go over, or incidents that you had on the golf course that you weren't sure of? This is the time to ask. Nothing yet? Well, if you ever have a rules question, please let Coach Aki or I know, or look it up on usga.org. That's going to be a good source, since they don't sell them in the pro shops anymore, or at Roger Dunn. I think they used to. I don't think they do anymore. Well, I guess that is it. Thank you so much for watching the top rules and terms before you play in, or the top rules and terms you need to know before you play in tournament golf. And like I said, it is so important to know, because if you don't know the rules, like I said, you can't win. And even if you don't know all the rules, you can still look them up on usga.org. I believe you can do that in a tournament. Make sure, and I'll look that up right now because that's important. Or ask the rules official or the person that's running the event if you could use your phone to look up the rules. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you guys soon in another event over the computer. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Have a great one.